bells toll. Choir's gonna sing and the herd will roll on down to the graveyard where it's cold and gray. But then the sun's gonna shine through the shadows when I go away. I don't want no sorrow for this old open board. I don't want no crying, only tears of joy. I'm gonna see my mother, I'm gonna see my father. I'll be bound for glory in the morning when I go away. Hey, hey, I'll be lifted up to the clouds on the wings of angels. You know it's only flesh and bone in the ground where my troubles will stay. See that storm over yonder, it's gonna rain all day. But then the sun's gonna shine through the shadows when I go away. I'm going home, no more worries. I'm going home, no more crying. I'm going home, no more sorrow. I'm going home to leave my worries in the graveyard. Home to leave my troubles in the graveyard. Home to leave my trials. And I'll be bound for glory in the morning when I go away. All my kin who love me, all my friends who care, look beyond them dark clouds. We're gonna meet up there when they lay me in the cold ground. Bow your heads and pray, 'cause I'll be bound for glory in the morning when I go away. I'll be lifted up to the clouds on the wings of angels. You know it's only flesh and bone in the ground where my troubles will stay. See that storm over yonder, it's gonna rain all day. But then the sun's gonna shine through the shadows when I go away. I'm going home, no more worries. I'm going home, no more crying. I'm going home, no more sorrow. I'm going home to leave my worries in the graveyard. Home to leave my troubles in the graveyard. Home to leave my trials. And I'll be bound for glory in the morning when I go away. Yes, I'll be bound for glory in the morning when I go away. But then the sun's gonna shine through the shadows when I go away. Whoa. fell upon your picture there. The window was reflected clearly on your face. I could see the clouds of heaven in its place. I sank into a reverie, remembering all that you have meant to me, when suddenly you lifted me out of myself. Through that window I was taken somewhere else. Oh, babe, you are my window to God, and you let me see into celestial realms and far beyond. And in you I see the light divine, though ancient shadows line the path that I have trod. There you are, my window to God. Your curtain let a breeze blow in. As I bowed my head, I slowly drank it in. The prophets in their glory at the heights of bliss never tasted any sweeter drink than this. The songbird at your windowsill sang for his bread, and you offered him his fill. I swore to you that morning that I would remain till the starlight twinkled through your window pane. Oh, babe, you are my window to God, and you let me see into celestial realms far beyond. And in you I see the light divine, though ancient shadows line the path that I have trod. There you are, my window to God. If I should flatter you in song, praising this window more than what lies beyond, or give a heartsick lover longing to proclaim that this window and his Lord are both the same. I come to you begging for food. I have no way to express my gratitude, but to love you and to serve you, to do your will, and to sing for you beneath your windowsill. Oh, babe, you are my window to God, and you let me see into celestial realms far beyond. And in you I see the light divine, though ancient shadows line the path that I have trod. There you are, my window to God. I dreamed I saw my Savior waiting patiently. And in the silent darkness, he called out to me. As I saw him there, tear ran from my eye. And I hid my face so he would not see me cry. So he would not see me cry. So he would not see me cry. But he came close, dried my tears with his robe. I buried my face deep within his folds. He told me not to worry, for my fate had always been entwined with his, and I would always be with him. I would always be with him. Always be with him. I dreamed he took me high atop a golden hill and said this world only exists because it is my will. So do not try to change that which was meant to be. You are mine now, your surrender is your gift to me. It is your gift to me. Your gift to me. I dreamed I saw my Savior come for all mankind. When I awoke, I was surprised to find that somehow in that night so dark and lonely, you had come, your compassion, to make my dream come true. To make my dream come true. To make my dream come true. Named Bob John, sing Mayhair, sing Mayhair. She sat beneath a tree from dusk till dawn. Sing Mayhair, sing Mayhair. A young man passed by, she drew him near, and she kissed his forehead there. She said one day all the trees will cry out, and every bird will sing Mayhair. So sing Mayhair in the morning hour, sing Mayhair in the afternoon, sing Mayhair when the evening falls, sing Mayhair the whole day through. Surrounded by silver and gold, sing Mayhair one glance reveals the power of a well-run toll. Sing May Hair, sing May Hair. There once came upon him in jet gown, and after everyone had gone, Orion took the garland from his own neck, and he placed it upon their wall. And it sing May Hair in the morning hour, sing May Hair in the afternoon, sing May Hair when the evening falls, sing May Hair the whole day through, the whole day through. The Tajudeen Baba walked along the Nagpur streets, sing May Hair, sing May Hair, till he came upon a place they called Rocky Sharif. Sing May Hair, sing May Hair. There one was drawn to meet him there, when he greeted him that day. God, you seen Baba gazed into the young man's eyes. What passed between them, who can say? And it sing May Hair in the morning hour, sing May Hair in the afternoon, sing May Hair when the evening falls, sing May Hair the whole day through, the whole day through. Sai Baba was a master of power and grace. Sing May Hair, sing May Hair. His presence turned Shirdi into a sacred place. Sing May Hair, sing May Hair. There one approached the master with respect, prostrating from afar. Sai Baba turned and pointing with his hand, he shouted out, "Har, har, gar." So sing May Hair in the morning hour, sing May Hair in the afternoon, sing May Hair when the evening falls, sing May Hair the whole day through, the whole day through, the whole day. Was a fierce and a naked man. Sing May Hair, sing May Hair. The king of the yogis with an iron hand. Sing May Hair, sing May Hair. One day he turned to all the people there and asked them, "Why do you follow me? Stick to Merwan and never let him go, for I have given him my key." So sing May Hair in the morning hour, sing May Hair in the afternoon, sing May Hair when the evening falls, sing May Hair the whole day through, the whole day through, the whole day. The whole day. people of the world want to be free. Liberation from political and social tyranny. Oh, but I have come to find my greatest enemy. Oh, lies deep inside of me where no one else can see. Oh, it's the battle for my own heart. It must be one for my own evolution. The only real solution is a spiritual revolution. Oh, spiritual revolution. Hey, emancipation from material things that I do not need. Renunciation of selfishness, anger, hate, and greed. Oh, instead of pointing fingers at somebody else, oh, it's time to close my eyes and look inside myself. Oh, I feel the change inside of me has already begun. It's human evolution, it's the practical solution. Spiritual revolution. Oh, spiritual revolution. Hey, everyone can play a part. Just open up your heart, reach out and help someone. No act of kindness is too small. We must make room for all. There's so much healing to be done. Revelation is waiting to awaken in our land. Transformation of the world in which we live is in our own hands. Oh, won't all good people come and say a prayer with me? Oh, we might make this world a better place to be. Oh, no one ever truly will be free until all humanity cries out in unity for a spiritual revolution. Oh, spiritual revolution. Oh, spiritual revolution. Hey! Woo! Go ahead and weep, heartbroken nightingale, for this world is the place of weeping. And never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Cup of wine for the palaces in ruins, and these bodies of yours and mine will not last long. Life is such a fragile thing, it is departing upon the wind. Come, have a drink with me, for soon it will be gone. I am the slave of that great one who renounces all these worldly things. rejecting all beneath the blue dome of the sky. Grieve not for this passing show, but remember something I once heard from a fellow traveler who was passing by. He said, untie the knot which is binding up your forehead, accept with joy what fate provides for you and me. Door of destiny is fixed, we may not open it, though we may try, we simply haven't got the key. So go ahead and weep, heartbroken nightingale, for this world is the place of weeping. And never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Last night, drunken and alone, I was sitting in the tavern. Oh, how can words ever express the things I heard? The angel Gabriel came to me, bringing a message from the other world. With his angelic voice, he spoke to me these words. Said, great falcon, can't you see? You are a noble bird of vision. You don't belong here in this world of pain and vice. A nest in heaven waits for you, perched to suit your lofty stature. You will find it high atop the tree of paradise. Oh, can't you hear? The royal falconer is whistling for you. They are calling you back to paradise from here below. Oh, tell me, why are you so reluctant to return there? What is it about this world that fascinates you so? Well, go ahead and weep, heartbroken nightingale, for this world is the place of weeping. And never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Shall I give you some advice? I learned it long ago. It was taught to me by a master of the way. If you will take it to your heart and then put it into practice, you may find it is of use to you one day. Expect nothing from this world, for she will never be faithful. She is unstable, always changing with the wind. Do not be tempted by her smile, for she is nothing but an aging bride. Throughout the ages, she has been married to 1,000 men. Now tell me, why do you poets nurture so much envy? For these lovely verses that Office has strung for you. His gracious heart and lovely speech were given to him by the hand of God. So what else could he do? Well, go ahead and weep. Heartbroken nightingale, for the world is the place of weeping, and never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Well, I have two more. I always like to end with a couple of Mayor Baba sing-alongs. And this is a song that Mayor Baba's beloved Mara told me that I should always sing when I sing for Baba people. So assuming there are some Baba people here.
A few, just a few.
As always. Yeah, okay. How about a big round of applause for Cliff Hackney? He's an old guy. Sing a song of Mayor Baba, sing of the joy his magic touch of love will bring. Sing it loud, sing it bright, for the rest of your life. Never could you sing it long enough to give the praise that he is worthy of. He came to show that every heart could share bounty of the treasures hidden there. He lit his candles in the dark that we might see. Of the noise he sang his song of silence that we might be free. So sing a song of Mayor Baba, sing of the joy his magic touch of love will bring. Sing it loud, sing it bright, for the rest of your life. Never could you sing it long enough to give the praise that he is worthy of. Personally cease to be detailed, correcting every error without fail. There is no lesson of the world he does not teach. There is no corner of your heart he will not reach. So sing a song of Mayor Baba, sing of the joy his magic touch of love will bring. Sing it loud, sing it bright, for the rest of your life. Never could you sing it long enough to give the praise that he is worthy of. Just to show the depth with which he cares, the bouquet of his close ones he now shares. Those who were there to satisfy his every whim now share their devotion as if flowers of their love for him. So sing a song of Mayor Baba, sing of the joy his magic touch of love will bring. Sing it loud, sing it bright, for the rest of your life. Never could you sing it long enough to give the praise that he is worthy of. morning, the birds sing out his praises. In the night, the crickets chatter of his ways. Shall we not shout his name aloud while we have the chance?
There, Baba!
Shall we not share with all the world this divine romance? And sing a song of may Baba sing of the joy and magic touch of love we bring. Sing it loud, sing it right for the rest of your life. Never could you sing it long enough to give the praise that he is worthy of. Never could you sing it long enough to give the praise that he is worthy of. I'm going to close with my international hit. Wrote that in India because there weren't enough. There were no songs that both the Indians and the Westerners could sing in Archie, so I only knew 2 words in Hindi and I used them both in the song. I'm not going to do it right now. Oh, and so if you want to sing along, the 2 words are Ustad and Tanyavad. Ustad Tanyavad, 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 Ustad Tanyavad. Oh, they have Tanyavad, Tanyavad, Tanyavad. Oh, they Urmaz Tanyavad, Urmaz Tanyavad, Urmaz Tanyavad, Urmaz Tanyavad, Zartosh Tanyavad, Zartosh Tanyavad, Zartosh Tanyavad, Zartosh Tanyavad. Oh, Tanyavad, Tanyavad, Tanyavad. Lord Ram Dhanyavad, Lord Ram Dhanyavad, Lord Ram Dhanyavad, Lord Ram Dhanyavad. Krishna Dhanyavad, Krishna Dhanyavad, Krishna Dhanyavad, Krishna Dhanyavad. Oh, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher. Oh, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher. Buddha Dhanyavad, Buddha Dhanyavad, Buddha Dhanyavad, Buddha Dhanyavad. Jesus Dhanyavad, Jesus Dhanyavad, Jesus Dhanyavad, Jesus Dhanyavad. Oh, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher. Oh, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher. Muhammad Dhanyavad, Muhammad Dhanyavad, Muhammad Dhanyavad, Muhammad Dhanyavad. Allah Dhanyavad, Allah Dhanyavad, Allah Dhanyavad, Allah Dhanyavad. Oh, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher. Oh, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher, Dhanyavad, Meher. I want to thank everybody for inviting us tonight. I want to thank all of you guys for coming. I want to thank Cliff Actress coming.
Thank you, David.
I want to thank Dennis and Angela. We're going to have a drawing in a minute and a fundraiser, so get your wallets and your checkbooks out. And when you write a check, just say this. Ustad Dhanyavad, 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 Ustad Dhanyavad. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Jai Bol.
All right, but we don't. At the Circle Center, when we have an artist, especially an artist as good as Jamie Newell, we just don't give them one round of applause. Let's go.
Or something, maybe after Baba passed away, so it was 69, maybe around 70 or 71. So in 71, a big car kind of comes into the boarding school, and out come three people, three ladies. And the three ladies were Elizabeth and Jane Haynes and Wendy. And two ladies, and I think Wendy was 10 or 12, or maybe a little older than that time. And they called me that these people have come to visit you. Now imagine this, you're in a boarding school, it's an all-boys school, right? And then these people say, what are these foreigners come to meet you for? And I remember saying, wow, okay. So then I went and I had no idea about all that. So then I meet these people, and I meet Elizabeth, and we kind of talk, and then Jane was there, and so we naturally talked. And so it was all mostly formal discussion and all that. And so I'm kind of regretting the whole thing till Elizabeth gets into the car and brings out a big box. And that box was, it was one of those fit-in pieces, and you build a model. And so she gives me a model of the Enterprise, the USS Enterprise, the ship. And when I see that, I said, well, this wasn't, these foreign ladies are not so bad. And so then I take that, and so naturally at this point I'm very kind of much in two minds. Is it a good thing or a bad thing, right? With this whole thing that is happening. The good thing was, after she gifted me with the model, I became a very popular boy in the school, right? Everybody wanted to be my friend, and so we used to have a big kind of a shower room, and our shower room had 12 showers all in one room, and it had a big kind of like a nice little ledge. So we kind of assembled the whole thing, the model of the Enterprise, and then we filled the whole thing with water, and this was the whole group, so all my friends and all. And then it had batteries and a motor, and it had flashing lights. And, oh my God, that was one of the best toys. I mean, in India, you get a toy like that, it's just very unusual, and so kind of I really enjoyed that. So I said, maybe it might not be so bad. But then after I started, so those are my memories of that time. I guess I should tell you also, another thing that I remember when I was 10 was I saw Baba when Baba was at Dara and Amrit's wedding. So he was there for the wedding in Merazad. And so the only thing I remember is I walked by Merazad, and so Baba is standing on the veranda there, and he has a microphone, and Eretz is speaking something and things like those. And a thought that still kind of is in my mind is, I thought, Baba really looks tired in that one. So in fact, that's what happened with Baba. This was 10th of December or something like that, and then Baba passed away within a little
a month and a third. He passed away December 31st. So that was my other memory. So these things are happening. My mother, who was a very strong follower of Baba, always was, it was like, for her, it was like, there's nothing to be told to you. You are a Baba person, so why are you even worried about that? That was her kind of reaction to anything that I challenged her about. So, and my mom was always kind of that way, a Baba lover. My whole family was also a Baba lover. In fact, my granduncles, they always used to tell me that, well, you saw Baba, but we have heard Baba. Because they met Baba when Baba used to speak. And this must be in 19, I think Baba stopped talking in 1925. Thank you. 1925. So yeah, this was before that. So they used to walk from Akbar Press to Mehrabad. And so that was the way I kind of grew up. So I'm growing up, I'm in the boarding school and all that. And then they teach you various things. So they teach you, one of the things they teach you is the theory of evolution, right? And I guess quite a few of you must be of a scientific background, and so Darwin's theory of evolution. And so when we started learning that, and then I said, well, if everything has evolved, where is the question of God, right? Because everything has evolved, one thing led to the other. And so for quite a while I felt that this whole thing about God itself is kind of not right. And I went through that for quite a while, and I started thinking about that, and I see that in my kids also. When my kids learn about evolution and when I talk to them about evolution, it's like they feel so strongly. And I feel the scientific community has done a great job of selling Darwin. But then at some point I started thinking about, oh yeah, and in fact I should tell you why I started thinking different. So then I went into engineering school, and in engineering school you start designing things. And then for quite a while in my career, I also was a design engineer. So when you start designing things, you begin to look at what it takes to design a simple thing. I used to design machine tools. Machine tools are tools that will do things in an automatic manner. So you have to kind of conceptualize the whole thing and then start actually looking at how the action will happen at the point the cutting thing happens, and then based on that you develop the whole machine. And then you have to draw it out first on CAD or computer-aided design or on paper, and then you build it, and then it comes to life. And after I started designing, and then I started looking at things in the nature, and then you start looking at a leaf or a stem or simple things. And then when you look at those, you begin to say, wait a minute, for designing this thing that I'm designing, it took me so much effort, and these people are trying to convince me that this has evolved. And that's when I started really challenging the whole Darwin's theory. And in fact, at this point, I have really looked into Darwin's theory and started looking into what he said and what reality is. And in fact, we were sitting at the dining table looking at the leaf with Baba's initials there. Do you see that? Now, most of you would have appreciated the signature on the leaf. But we missed appreciating the leaf. I mean, there is much more that has gone into making the leaf than it has gone into just engraving that name on that. But we become so accustomed to looking at things and we just say, okay, well, what's this? This is no big deal. And that's when I started looking into this whole thing. Now, the way it happened in my case was, first I had to even believe that there is a God, and then you begin to believe, oh yes, and that is Baba. So it's like a two-step thing, right? First you believe that it can be possible first. So if you really look at anything that happens in nature, and in fact then I started looking at what some of you might know as the concept of design and the concept of intellectual design. I don't know how many of you have kind of read about that or researched that. I would encourage you to look into that. The concept of intellectual design. Intelligent design. Thank you, intelligent design. So intelligent design, the whole idea there is everything that you see has been designed. And then I ran into an instance where you started, there was an example of what is called a flagellum. And a flagellum is like a small kind of a bacteria which kind of goes through, which locomotes, which moves in some kind of a medium. And when it moves in the medium, it uses its tail. So it's got its tail, and the tail rotates and allows the bacteria to kind of move from one place to the other. And so if you look into that, we look at it from Darwin's point of view. What Darwin said was, little by little, everything happened. So by having, and the way it happens, it's all a matter of something going wrong or something not getting you to the right point, and because of that, evolution happens, and then you come to the final point. Now the problem with that kind of thinking is, if in the first place you did not have that rotating motor, how could it have improved? So for improving something, you need to first at least have the action going. Now just take a simple example of the flagellum. The flagellum has this rotating tail which rotates at a rotation of 100,000 RPM. The flagellum rotates at 100,000 RPM and it stops in a quarter of a circle, and then it can begin to rotate in the opposite direction when the bacteria wants to go in the opposite direction. How can you not see a miracle in that? And that's really, it's those kind of things I started looking at that. And there is, what's that?
Creation is miracle.
Really? But the thing is, we miss out on the miracles because we don't look at it that way. And by the way, if I'm explaining something and you have a question, please feel free. We'll kind of talk about it also. So not a problem. There is so when designing, I found that there is an insect which has a kind of the insect's legs are such that it's got like a gear built on it. And the gear is such that it can load itself with the gear like a toggle, and then it releases it so that it can jump some 300 times its height. Wait a minute, I said, wait a minute, and you say it evolved? Now, we're talking about insects and bacteria and things like those. We haven't even come to humans, or we haven't even come to bigger things. But we say it's evolved, it's all evolved. So at some point I started thinking differently, and when I started thinking differently, I said, there is no way this evolution thing can work. It has to be something that has been designed, and even with the engineering and a scientific education, I just feel it's just unbelievable that something can evolve. Even look at atoms. Look at the nuclei, the protons, the electrons. How could that evolve? I mean, it's just unreal. It has to have been put there. How can you have so many different elements? What is magnetism? We don't even understand magnetism. What's that?
Some magic energy behind everything.
Exactly, there is. So that's when I started believing that, well, there is no way that this has evolved. And so, in fact, the way I look at it these days, I try to see a miracle in everything. I mean, you can start looking like that. You will, in fact, the other day I was looking at, it was like a shell for a seed. And this is a seed. And the way the shell works, it's like a 5 or 6 leaves are there. And it opens, those 5 leaves or 6 leaves, they open. And there's a seed inside. And when you look at that, each of those leaves has got what we in engineering terms would call a gusset. A gusset is something that we use to strengthen a part so that it does not fall apart. And looking at that, I said, wait a minute, there's a gusset in this. Where did that come from? I mean, truly, if you begin to look at, no, we haven't even gone into photosynthesis or what all happens in the cell, or we haven't even gone into the DNA or the RNA, or how this whole thing creates. So I mean, once you begin to look at miracles, it's just unreal how many miracles you can see. So at that point, I began to believe that there's no way that, I mean, I'm convinced. And here's another thing. I'm talking of the smaller things. We haven't even gotten into space or the planets or the universe or things like those. And in fact, one of the theories that I ran into, which kind of I really liked, was this. There's a cluster of these microbiologists and biochemists, and they have come up with a theory. They call it irreducible complexity. And the concept of irreducible complexity is, when Darwin, he kind of looked at the whole thing and came up with the theory of evolution. The belief was that at some point we will find that everything is the same. All matter is the same. So, because Darwin was maybe 100, 125, 150 years from today, right? So that time there was no microscope. We couldn't see the miniature things of what happened. And so that time the thinking was, at some level, everything will be the same. But now as we look into that, we have found that the cell itself is a factory by itself. So each cell is a factory that needs to have a means of removing the waste, bringing in the energy, performing the things that needed to be performed. Then you have the DNA that is used for creating another cell, and then cell division happens. It's just unreal. The other thing that really impresses me is, think about it this way. To make any kind of a product or any kind of a machine, we need to come up with a drawing, right? We come up with specifications. So as an engineer, that's what we do. We come up with a whole set of drawings. I mean, for a house, let's take for a house. A good example is for a house. If you want to build a house, what you do is you need plans for the house. We do the same thing for a product, or we do the same thing for a machine. You need to come up with a whole set of plans that exactly say which part is going where and how that part needs to be made so that you can make that part or make that machine. The cell has no such drawings. You know where the drawings are in the cell? In the DNA. The DNA itself has all the plans of how to make the cell. Now, how can you make a product? The product has been designed that has the drawings built in itself to make itself. And we say that has evolved, that has just come about, and we don't even give it a second thought. It's just amazing that we've come to a point where we allow that to happen. So these kind of things really made me feel there's no way. I mean, I'm convinced that there is some power that does that. Now, one of the things that really made me look at Baba in that sense, and one of the things that really I took it as a miracle from Baba, was the time when Baba passed away, and when Mera was feeling lonely, Baba's picture, Baba's form came on that urad tree outside her room. And I was fortunate enough to actually see that on the tree. Not only did I see it on the tree, I made sure I go around and I saw it this close to exactly see what is it. Because I wanted to know how did that come about. And when I saw that, I said, wait a minute. This is not natural. In my field, I'm a manufacturing and industrial engineer. And so in my field, we say that if something is within the limits of how it should be, then the process or the product is in control, or the process is stable. We call it stable. So what is a stable process for a tree? That the trunk is just uniform. Maybe there are some branches, there are leaves, all that is stable and all that is regular. When you see a face on the trunk, that tells you this is not normal. This is out of the realm of things that can happen on a normal basis. And in fact, what is the probability of that happening on a tree? What is the probability of that happening on a tree outside Mera's window? And what is the probability of that happening so that Mera can see it straight out of her window? There is no way that it can. Okay. The other thing that I've always felt is, I've heard a lot of you come and tell me miracles with Baba, experiences with Baba, things that Baba has kind of allowed you to see. And sometimes I feel, Baba, where are my miracles? I didn't see something so. But this was a miracle for me in a way, because I felt that yes, just by looking at what Baba managed to do and what happened was good enough for me to believe that yes, Baba is what he says that he is. Recently, what started happening to me is, I have, so we see Baba as a picture, right? We see Baba's picture. And as I've started looking more into studying more about the universe and more about how the planets are and things like those, I am beginning to feel that Baba has really not showed himself fully to us. Or maybe that's not a good way to put it. Maybe we do not even have the capability. At least I don't feel I have the capability to understand what he's capable of achieving, or what he is, and what he is truly there, because we do not have the capacity to understand that. And that has been a kind of a thing that is recently, I'm thinking in those terms. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of wrap up at least what I have to say, and then I'm going to open it up, because I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and maybe our interaction might mean more to you than me just rambling about various things. So that's what I'm going to do. But what I'm going to do first is, since I talked about the universe and the infinite, I'm going to do an exercise with you to help you appreciate what is infinite. Now, I'm not going to show you what infinite is, because that you can only show. But let's do that exercise. So tell me, how far is India from here?
8,000 miles.
8,000 miles? It's a little more, yeah. He says 14, it's around 12,000. Okay, what is the diameter of the Earth? The diameter of the Earth is around 8,000 miles. 8,000 miles is the diameter of the Earth.
Diameter, okay.
So the diameter of the Earth is 8,000. So 8,000, so if you go halfway, so it'll be around 15,000 miles. Let's say 15,000 miles. So from here to India is 15,000 miles. What is the diameter of the known universe that at least we know about? Try 93 billion. Now let's say the known universe is 93 billion miles. 93 billion miles. Now from here to India is 12,000. The known universe is 93 billion miles. Now,
It's actually 13.5 billion light years.
Yes.
Light years a trillion miles.
Yes, you are ahead of me. You are ahead of me. Now, you know how fast light travels?
180,000 miles.
Yeah, good. 186,000 miles per second. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. So, per second, 186,000 miles. The diameter of the known universe is not 93 billion miles.
Right here.
The diameter of the known universe is 93 billion light years. Now let's understand what is a light year. A light year is the distance that light will travel in 1 year at the speed of 186,000 miles per second. You get the math now, right? So at the speed of 186,000 miles per second, light will take 93 billion years to get from one point in the universe to another point of the universe. Now, that's the known universe. So that is not infinity, right? So infinity is beyond that, which only he knows where that is. So so when we talk about things, we need to understand how small we are or how less we know of the whole thing. It's just unreal. When truly Baba says, I have infinite knowledge, you kind of begin to believe. You say, yeah, what is infinity? A little more than what we know, right? I mean, that's the approach that most people have. Infinity is a little more. I don't know what infinity is, so it'll be a little more than what I know. So that's what it is. And so infinite is truly what that is. And so once we begin to appreciate that, and so I guess to wrap up at least what I have to say, begin to see beauty in everything, beauty in a leaf. I mean, the leaf itself is so many factories built into that. And we haven't even talked about other things like the eye. The beauty in the eye. How did the eye was created? And in fact, the other day, my daughter, who's taking science courses, she was telling me, oh, I'm reading a chapter on the evolution of the eye. and she's these days, so we, in fact, we have made a compromise these days. So we have said that what our beliefs are, and in fact, every time she talks about evolution, I cannot jump in and say, wait a minute, did you say evolution? And so we have made a compromise. We say, okay, there is evolution. I do believe there is evolution. But evolution can only happen after something has been designed and put into place. So there's a combination of both. I mean, it's evolve. Yeah, it does evolve. I mean, little by little, some improvement will happen. But something to come into existence just by itself is just not possible. And that, I mean, yeah, scientists would say anything, but yeah. And in fact, if you are interested, I take all this as Baba's, because I mean, that's just how the nature of what Baba has created. There is a good set of videos, and the title of that is Where Does the Evidence Lead? Where does the evidence lead? And in fact, in this case, they talk about intelligent design. And so, in fact, I highly recommend you and it's all available on YouTube, so you can go and view that. It's just kind of amazing. It kind of gives you an appreciation for what Baba is and how the whole thing has kind of come about and how we have been blind to this whole thing for all this time. Okay, so your questions.
I'll go first.
Yes.
It's not a question, it's an observation. I'm a geologist, and from the time I was a little kid, I was interested in paleontology, which, as you know, is the study of ancient life. And I started reading books on evolution from the time I was, Time, Life, and Man, let's say that would be I was 13, 14 years old, and then George Gaylord Simpson's books on evolution. And I actually went to college, went to graduate school, took a seminar in systematics. I never believed it was possible, intuitively, that you could get the complexity of form over the standard way of thinking of evolution. Because, as you said, here's how it works. You have a random change in a gene. just a random one, which makes a random change in a protein, and then somehow that is good because the environment accepts it. And from that, and another random thing, and another random thing, and if you just do the mathematics, it's impossible, okay? I heard one guy, he was a pastor, and I thought it was just a great analogy. He said, what are the chances that if you had an explosion in a print shop that you'd come up with an unabridged dictionary? and that's exactly the point. I mean, the fact is, it's not going to happen in a trillion years. Then in my systematics class, I had a very bright guy. He taught at the Museum of Natural History. And I would look at some of the things that were being published at the time, and I said, you know, this guy seems to indicate that there's some kind of a feedback mechanism that might go into genetics. In other words, inheritance of, quote, acquired characteristics was the old thing which was debunked. But now, in 2019, what do we have? We have exogenesis, which is simply the concept that experiences of an organism can actually be coded in its DNA. Well, then if you read Meher Baba, he talks about the fact that our sanskaras, accumulated during a lifetime, make the pattern for the next form. And that evolution occurs from one form to another by the accumulation of more and more sanskaras, and therefore the need for a higher and higher form to be able to spend those sanskaras. Which means that in your lifetime and in my lifetime, we may actually see a total change in the understanding of evolution, which, believe it or not, proves Meher Baba right.
Let's hope so.
You know, the other thing that I couldn't figure out is that every evolutionary theorist, right, talks about a material world only. That life is biologically based, and when life's biological functions are over, consciousness is done. There's no place in material evolution for the idea of discarnate consciousness in anything. And yet, then what happened in the 1970s? You started getting books like Life After Life, tons of tremendously well-documented stuff, which is documented now even more and more to this day, of discarnate experiences of people who have died, including one guy put in JAMA, some guys who died instantly of cardiac arrest. So there was no time for brain changes in chemistry. They were just dead, came back, and they all have so many similar experiences. So if you can have discarnate consciousness, then there's a real easy way to see, right?
Yeah.
How you can code form for the next. So you and I, even though you're an engineer and I'm a geologist, and we tend not to talk to each other. Although I made my life right, we come to the same conclusion. And I think any fair-minded person, the deeper they delve, finds the same thing. So that's my little take on it.
Yeah, and in fact, they did a calculation on what if there were these Scrabble letters,
Right.
and if the Scrabble letters were dropped, how many combinations would be needed to form the words to be or not to be? And they came up with some greater than 10,000 billion years. So if you kept throwing those letters for 10,000 billion years, then there is a possibility they might come to that to be or not to be. It's greater than 10,000 billion.
It's mind
Yes,
blowing.
sir. Yes.
You say you see miracles in everything. What is the most, for lack of a better word, spectacular miracle you have ever seen in which you saw Baba's hand or face, like on the tree? Or I'm thinking of Michael LePage's story of when he went to a naturopath and had some blood drawn, and they were looking at his blood under the microscope, and they actually, he and the examiner actually saw Baba's face in the blood work under the microscope. So what similar spectacular miracle have you experienced in your lifetime where you actually saw Baba's face or knew it was his hand directly?
Okay, so you get the question. The question is, what is the most miracle that I have seen?
Yes.
Like I said, I'm waiting for that. So. But the thing is, I truly have come to a point where I don't think I need that miracle to happen, and so. But okay, I can tell you some ways that I believe Baba has saved me. So I can tell you an incident where in India we don't have cars, right? We have motorcycles, and so this one incident that happened was I was on a motorcycle and I was living in Ahmednagar at that time. I was in my mid-20s and I had a job at a manufacturing company there in Ahmednagar, and had bought a motorcycle, very powerful motorcycle. It could go easy 65, 75 miles an hour. It was a kind of powerful motorcycle. And never occurred to me to own a helmet, so. Now please don't tell this story to my kids, okay? Yeah. So what had happened was I went from Ahmednagar, so a friend of mine and we went to Pune, and on the return, we were coming back in the night, and it must be around midnight, so it was late, we were traveling. And if you know anything in India, when you are going on the road, and if a truck comes from the front, you have to go down on the road because there's not enough space for you to kind of pass, right? And what happened was, I was sitting behind my friend and pretty much put my head on his shoulder, and I was kind of literally taking a nap. And so he's riding the motorcycle, both of us not wearing helmets. The truck comes from the front, and it so happens that he sees that the truck and the motorcycle are going to cross on a bridge. There's a bridge there, so we can cross right in. So naturally, looking at the bridge, he kind of becomes nervous, and he kind of goes a little beyond what he should have gone, and he goes down on the shoulder. And we were maybe, I'm sure we were at 55, 60 miles an hour. And when I woke up, in midair. I just was dazed, looked up, and it was just like it was all practiced, and I landed on my feet. I land on my feet, and the motorcycle is on one side, my friend is on the other, he's beaten up, and I'm just dazed and saying, wait a minute, what happened? I was just unharmed totally. And then there was a car that came from behind. And so the car comes, and so naturally it was nice of the car, the person, they stopped, and they kind of looked at, saw the whole thing that happened. And my friend was beaten up like anything. His face was cut, his back was hurting, he was just complaining away. And so I said, okay, let's put, kind of requested the car to take him to the hospital. We said we're not going to wait for the ambulance or anything, so I put him in the car, and he kind of went to the hospital. Now, I guess should tell you a funny story there attached to this also. So in India, we have something for the mustaches. In India, most Indians will have mustaches, right? Where is Ravi? So, and I'm shaven now. So what had happened was, I had a friend in Mumbai. So at one point in time, we kind of made a bet, and so both of us had mustaches then. And so he says that, so I was telling him, why are you so proud of your mustache? What does this mustache mean to you? And he said, oh, this is manlyhood and all, that's the kind of thinking that we have in India. So I said, what would it take for you to shave off this mustache? So he said, if you shave yours, I will shave mine. I said, oh, okay, get the razor. So I took the razor and removed mine, so I had no mustache. So now this is a side story. So what had happened was, now the friend who was sitting in front of me, he was the same. When I met him, he said, what did you do? You removed your mustache. I said, no, that's fine. He said, I would never remove mine. I said, really? And so this is the friend who is now in front of the motorcycle. So I was joking and I'm telling him, if ever you want it removed, you let me know, I will shave it off. Now it so happens, we take this friend to the hospital, and the moment we reach the hospital, the nurse brings the razor. He has a big cut. He had a cut like this. The whole thing was cut. It was just bleeding away. And she said, there's no way we can treat you till you remove your mustache. So now I don't know whether to laugh or whether this guy is beaten up. So I got removed his mustache. So and then they treated him and all that. So but that wasn't the end of it. The next morning, his mother visits the hospital. Now he's in a hospital bed, right? I went to sleep at home. His mother comes up to me and says, I have one question. You both were on the motorcycle. How come you got away without even a single cut? I really felt bad then because this person, I mean, we are still friends, but that's how it happened. So I don't know what role Baba played, but yeah, I was thankful that.
It's a nice story.
So you have other questions? Yes, sir.
Is Banumasi your grandmother? Which one is your grandmother?
No, Banumasi is my grandma's sister. So there were
What's
four.
your grandmother's name?
Yeah, my grandmother's name was Shireen. So Shireen Mai, then Banu Mai, Gai Mai, and Gula Mai. They were the four sisters, and then they had 5 brothers, and that was the family.
Guy Mai was Erish's mom. Right?
Yeah, Gai Mai was Erish's mom, right? That's it?
But when you were growing up, I know you met Baba during the wedding, but was he around? Because you were writing on the Nagar growing up. Was he around periodically? And
Oh, well, Baba used to come a lot to Akbar Press, and so, yeah, on his way from Merazad to Mehrabad, he would stop in and eat rice and dal, and he used to always stop at Akbar Press. And so, yeah, I was also wondering what are my memories, my earliest memories of Baba. And then Jonathan the other day sends me a picture where Baba is laughing away, and Roshan Kerawala is laughing with Baba, so they are having some interaction. My mom is standing beside, and Gulamasi, that's Gaimai's, and this picture was taken at Bindra House, and Gulamasi is behind there, and Mera, Roshan's daughter, is standing there looking at Baba like that. And then there's a small boy crying away. And that was me. So I thought, okay, good, I'm still crying. So that's it. Yes?
Did Baba ever say anything directly to you that, like as a direction directly to you, or anything specific?
No, I don't remember Baba saying anything to me. I don't know why, but Baba did say something to my father, my dad. And so somebody told me that Baba had told my dad that you will come 6 months after I've gone. Now that's kind of like a big burden to live with, right? And so I didn't think about it much, and so, but it did happen that way. Baba passed away in January 31st, 69, And my dad passed away on 25th August 1969, the same year. So it did happen, 6 months, maybe 7 months, which in that, I guess the divine calendar, a month here and there is. But what happened after that was, I was in India, and one person came up to me, he's an Indian, and he came up to me and he said, have you heard that Baba had told your dad that 6 months after he goes, he's going to come? I said, yeah, I heard about it, but I didn't think much about it. He said, well, when Baba did that, Baba told your dad that, I was in the room. When he said that, I said, you were in the room when actually this happened? He said, yes, I was in the room when this conversation happened. So naturally, my thing was, why did he tell him that? What was the significance? He said, well, something happened, and so he was talking, and he said, well, 6 months after that, you were coming. Something like that. So,
How
yeah.
did your father die then? What was the cause
My
of
father passed away, he had a heart attack. And in fact, that was another thing. When you lose your dad, and so I was 10, and you always wonder whether something more could have been done. And so the way it happened was, my father, so I was in the school in Pune, and I went to Ahmednagar, and in the evening I met my father. He kind of wasn't feeling very good. The next day he goes to work, and then there was near Akbar Press there was another kind of a room, so he was resting there, and he calls me and says, okay, just massage my back, and then he said that the cardiologist is going to come today to check me out. In India, the doctors will come to your house and check you out. So the cardiologist comes, and this Dr. Shelgikar, he kind of comes, and so when he comes, he's right in the room, he checks my dad, they talk about his health and all that. I'm 10 years old, I listen, I just play, I go in and out, and I'm just listening to what is happening. And he leaves. Within 10-15 seconds of him leaving, he was just at the door, and my dad gets a massive heart attack. And he begins to take deep breaths and like that. And so naturally I run inside, I bring the doctor back in. And I bring the doctor back in. Now, this is a cardiologist, and this is the best person that could have been there if he was to live, right? And that's the way I looked at it. I said, well, the best person who could have saved my dad was there. Yeah. And immediately Shelgikar, the Dr. Shelgikar, he started giving him CPR, naturally, he was a cardiologist. And he couldn't save it. Yeah. So when such things happen, you think, well, it was destiny. So it was to happen. So in a way that helped me kind of.
What year was?
This is 1969. 25th,
I forgot. Yeah.
25th of August, yeah.
That's about when Duncan passed.
Yes, Duncan passed.
Yeah.
Getting back to, I'm not a scientist, but I just wanted to throw this out because I had heard this once expressed and it made sense. And that was that the whole range of creation, from the littlest amoeba to humans, was, in all the physical universes, was all created in an instant, along with the mechanism, evolution, if you will, so that everything goes through that process.
And that might be true, actually, yeah.
Everything was, in other words, it didn't, people think, well, it started out as something small and eventually it came to a human. But this theory says that everything was created in an instant along with the mechanism of evolution that everything goes through it. So,
but the dinosaurs were not created at the same time as the humans. But yeah, I mean.
Well, I mean,
the way I look at it,
there's
who
a
knows,
further,
right?
there's a further,
only Baba knows. So.
There's a further explanation of this, because this came from a Vedic teaching, and the understanding in that tradition is the Vedas are not words. They're a verbal expression of the virtual fluctuations in the unmanifest silent field of all possibilities. And that, so that the same thing, so like when there's a Mahapralaya, the same creation comes out according to the sequence that's in that virtual field.
Yes,
And Mayor Barber said exactly right now, there's another world ready to go if anything happens to this.
and that could also be
That's
true.
food for thought.
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
We may get there quick.
Well, the way I look at it, we know so
So what
little.
about everyone else?
It's just amazing how. So I talked to you about infinite distance. Now talk about infinite knowledge. What would that be? It's just unreal. But yeah, it's when you say infinite, it's just unreal. What it could all. I mean, it could just. It's truly beyond our imagination. So it's just truly beyond imagination.
Well, actually, that's one of the points of Infinite Intelligence, that book, is that there's two aspects. We either turn inward or we look outward. If we turn inward, we can experience our true self. If we look outward, our imagination, whatever we experience, the most dissonant thing, we can always imagine something beyond that. So it's a field of infinite possibilities going outward, creating new things, or if we look inward, then eventually we realize who we are in the end.
Yep. Well, what I could tell you is some of the things that I try to remember when we talk about Baba. Some of the things that I've always tried to keep in mind is, the first one is be in the world but not of the world. And so in whatever I've tried to do, I kind of keep that in mind. That's the whole idea there. At the same time, Baba said that I can do everything, but then I cannot make you like each other or make you work together with each other. And so that is truly up to us, how we create this environment where we can trust and love each other to be able to do the things that we need to do. So that is another thing that, and I guess the other thing also is, I used to have a bad temper. So at some point, what's that?
No.
Well, yeah, and I guess the bad temper thing was, at one point, one of my cousin brothers, he kind of irritated me for some reason. I don't know, I must be maybe 19 or 20 that time. And somehow there was a hatchet there. And I threw at him the hatchet. Yeah. And I was so thankful that it missed. But after that point, I decided that at no point will I let my temper just go run by itself, and so I always try to keep that. That's it. Okay, thank you very much.